Instructional strategies and techniques. Introduction. Instructional strategies are techniques for successfully teaching a concept to group of students. A teaching strategy is the method used to deliver information in the class, online, or in some other medium. A teaching strategy comprises the principles and methods used for instruction. A combination of instructional methods, learning activities, and materials that actively engage students in learning process and appropriately reflect both learning goals and students' development needs are called instructional strategies. Instructional strategies can motivate students and help them focus attention, organize information for understanding and remembering, monitor and access learning. Computer Associated Instruction (CAI). Computer Associated Instruction refers to an education system of instruction performed almost entirely by computer. The term computer-based learning refers to the use of computer as a key component of the educational environment, while CAI and CBL can refer to the use of computer in a classroom. They more broadly refer to a structured environment in which computers are used for teaching purposes. Computer-assisted instruction (CAI) is a program of instructional material presented by means of a computer or computer system. Computer-assisted instruction (CAI) refer to an instruction that uses computer or digital device to monitor the learning that takes place and presents the instructional material. Factors that influence computer-assisted instruction. Ensure that CAI activities are integrated into your curriculum. Do not overuse CAI. Plan for uses of CAI adjusted to infrastructure and resources available. Maximize interactivity. Allow for different rates of progression in class, but ensure that all students reach the objective. Ensure students understand the scope and objectives of assignments. Be sure students understand the models presented on the screen. Assess and evaluate student performance when you use CAI. Use the computer under an appropriate pedum. Advantages of computer-assisted instruction. They use one-to-one interaction with the student as well as an instantaneous response to the answers cited and allow students to proceed at their own pace. Computers are particularly used in subjects that require drill, freeing teachers time from some class room tasks so that a teacher can devote more time to individual students. Because of the privacy and individual attention afforded by a computer, some students are relieved of embarrassment of giving an incorrect answer publicly or of going more slowly through lessons than the other classmates. The program can adapt to the abilities and preference of the individual students and increase the amount of personalized instruction a student receives. Moreover, computer learning experience often engage the interest of students, motivating them to learning and increasing the independence and personal responsibility for education. A computer program can be used diagnostically, and once a student's problem has been identified, it can thus focus on the problem area. Drawbacks of computer-assisted instruction. They are generally costly system to purchase, maintain and update. They are also fears, whether justified or not, that use of computer in education decreases the amount of human interaction. In some applications, especially those involving abstract reasoning and problem-solving processes, CAI has not been very effective. Critics claims that purely designed CAI system can dehumanize or regiment the educational experience and thereby diminish student interaction and motivation. Some student failures can be traced to in inadequate teaching training in the CAI system. Student training in the computer technology may be required as well, and this process can distract from the core educational process. Non-graded classes are mixed ability groups. Today, non-graded education, also called mixed age grouping, heterogeneous grouping, and open education remain an alternative structure for many schools. With more emphasis today on the individual learner and increased student diversity within classrooms, the non-graded system may increasingly be viewed as an acceptable alternative to graded structures. Students are given the flexibility to move at a pace that fosters optimal and continuous learning instead of being promoted once a year. Development of graded education search for other models. By the end of the 19th century, there were various efforts to create different schooling models and achieve greater flexibility. These efforts continued well into the 20th century, handicapped to some extent by the publishing industry's success in producing age-graded textbook series that made it easier for teachers to manage their work. Along with the search for more appropriate, flexible, and child-oriented arrangements to replace the entrenched gradedness, severe, influential, and helpful developments occurred. Progressive education was very likely the most dramatic education. Formal and non-formal education. Formal education. The structured, chronologically graded education system running from primary education through the university and including, in addition to general academic studies, a variety of specialized programs and institutions for full-time technical and professional training. Informal education. The truly lifelong process whereby every individual acquires attitudes, values, skills, and knowledge from daily experience and educate influences and resources in his or her environment, from family and neighbors, from work and play, from marketplace, the library, and the mass media. Non-formal education. Any organized educational activity outside the established formal system, whether operating separately or as an important feature of some broader activity that is intended to serve identifiable learning, clientless and learning objective. The distinction made is largely administrative. Formal education is linked with schools and training institutions, non-formal with community groups and other organizations, and informal covers what is left, instruction with friends, family, and work colleagues. These definitions do not imply hard and fast category. In particular, there may well be some overlap and confusion between the informal and non-formal. Ideal type models of formal and non-formal education. Formal, non-formal. Purposes. Formal, long-term and journal credential based. Non-formal, short-term, specific, non-credential based. Timing, long cycle, preparatory, full-time. Non-formal, short cycle, recurrent, part-time. Content, formal, standardized, input-centered academic. Non-formal, individualized, output-centered practical. Delivery system, institution-based, isolated from environment, rigidly structured, teachers-centered and resource-intensive. Environment-based, community-related, flexible, learner-centered and resource-saving. Control, external, hierarchical, self-governing, democratic. Distance education, Distance education or distance learning is the education of students who may not always be physically present at school. Distance education delivers class live or pre-tapped to student in which home, office or classroom. As the cost of delivering quality education increases, institutions find that limited resources prevent them from building facilities, hiring faculty or expanding curricula. They are using distance education to maximize resources and are combining their assets with other to produce programming. Distance education is offered internationally, nationally, regionally, and locally over all forms of conference technology. Technologies of distance education. All participants are present at the same time. In this regard, it resembles traditional classroom teaching method despite the participants being located remotely. It requires a timetable to be organized. Web conference, video conference, educational television, instructional television are example of synchronous technology as are directed broadcast, satellite, BDS, internet radio, live streaming, telephone. Asynchronous learning. In asynchronous learning, participants access course materials flexibly on their own schedules. Students are not required to be together at the same time. Mail correspondence, which is the oldest form of distance learning, is an asynchronous delivery technology as are message board, form, email, video and audio recordings, print materials, voicemail, and fax honest learning. Benefits of distance education. Distance learning can expand access to education of all population, lifelong learning, cost effectiveness. Distance learning may enable students who are unable to attend a traditional school setting due to disability or illness such as decreased mobility and immune system suppressions to get a good education. Students can review their lessons more than once according to their need. Final opportunities of adolescents. Criticism. Democratic instructions, unreliable technology, lack of advanced technology, difficult for the instructor to organize and plan a distance learning program, the isolation of students from instructors and their peers. Open learning. Open learning is an innovative movement in education that emerged in the 1970s and evolved into field of practice and study. The term refers generally to activities that either enhance learning opportunities within formal education system or broaden learning opportunities beyond formal education system. Open learning involves but is not limited to classroom teaching methods, approaches to interactive learning formats in work-related education and training, the cultural and ecologies of learning communities, and the development and use of open educational resources. Corresponding education. Corresponding education means education where the institution provides instructional material by mail, electronic transmission, including examinations to students who are separated from the instructor. As a general rule, corresponding education could be undertaken when a campus-based alternative is impractical. This may be the case when a particular group of students is unable to reach the campus, or because the college cannot offer an equivalent course, or because the distance-based instruction is recognized by faculty as being superior to what the institution can provide utilizing traditional modes of learning. Several collaborative teaching approaches. Sportive co-teaching, where the one member of the team takes the lead role and the other member rotates among students to provide support. Parallel co-teaching, where sport personnel and the classroom teacher instruct different heterogeneous programs of students. Complementary co-teaching, where a member of the co-teaching team something to supplement or complement the instruction provided by the other member of the team. Team teaching involves a group of instructors working purposefully, regularly, and cooperatively to help a group of students of any age. Discussion method. In the classroom, students sit around a table with their peers and with the faculty tutor as a guide. There are no lecture, no didactic discourses, and no simple regurgitation of others' conclusions. Instead, ideas are purposes rebutted and defended until through discussion and critical argumentation the class discerns the meaning of given text and more important its veracity or error. The truth is found by way of conversation. This is the discussion method, also called Socratic method, after the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, who would engage his students with question and dialogue. Because the class is small, the tutor is able to determine each student progress, and students have ample occasion to make their difficulties known. This is a true meeting of the minds. Lecture method of teaching. Lecture method of teaching is the oldest teaching method applied in educational institution. This teaching method is one-way channel of communication of information. Student involvement in this teaching method is just to listen and sometimes pen down some notes if necessary during the lecture, combine the information and organize it. Lecture method is the most commonly used method of teaching. It is the teacher-controlled and information-centered approach in which the teacher works as sole resource in classroom instruction. In lecture method, only the teacher talks and students are passive listener. Case method. The case study teaching method is a highly adaptable style of teaching that involves problem-based learning and promotes the development of analytical skills by presenting content in the format of narrative accompanied by questions and activities that promote group discussion and solving of complex problems. Case studies facilitates development of higher level of Bloom taxonomy of cognitive learning, moving beyond recall of knowledge to analysis, evaluation, and application. Active learning strategies. Icebreaker, think, pair, share. Write, pair, share. Student summaries, question and answer in pairs. 1 minute paper free writes. Questioning techniques. Questioning techniques are heavily used and thus widely researched teaching strategies. Types of question. Educators have traditionally classified questions according to Bloom taxonomy. Bloom taxonomy includes 6 categories: knowledge, recall, data or information. Number 2, comprehension, understand meaning, application, use a concept in a new situation. Analysis, separate concepts into parts, distinguish between facts and inferences. Synthesis, combine parts to form new meaning. Evaluation, make judgment about the value of ideas or products. Feedback, redirecting, probing and responding. A teacher response to students' answer is just as important as the question answer. A response may direct student when an incorrect answer is given or students misinterpret the question. Teachers may probe for further explanation when a partial answer is given. Finally, teachers may validate a correct response. Research in this area shows that redirection and probing are effective when they are explicitly focused